My life has been a great challenge and opportunity because it's made me flexible to what is constant in the world, which is change. Now, change is something we young people know a lot about. When we reach a certain age, our bodies experience many turns and turbulences, some of which we can't explain, and at most times, no one wants to explain them to us. For me, growing up in a household that went from lower class to middle made me realize how important my voice and the understanding of situations was. Losing my voice, losing my privilege, translated into me losing myself. Having a teacher who was also my mother meant my curiosity was always encouraged and cultivated. But I found out this wasn't the case when I started attending a township school. A debate what? Learner representative who? There's no space for that here, young man. Even with all these challenges, and not being allowed to be an active participant in my own education, I still managed to matriculate, and I went on to study analytical chemistry. Now, many people have asked me, why chemistry? And I still don't know how to answer. Apparently, I'm good at maths and science, and this is only apparently, because it's imposed on me, right? Now, chemistry studies matter, which is anything that has mass and occupies space. It looks at the composition and properties of matter and the change that matter undergoes. Now, it's a big deal when a chemical reaction happens. You can even see it on the face of a scientist. Eureka! I found it. Because a brand new substance would have been created. Through many youth development and engagement platforms that we have seen that speak about youth issues and work with young people, we've noticed that they open practical solutions. They open dynamic new pathways that stabilize communities to be sustainable. It's a simple process of involving a child in how many sugars they take in their tea or which career path they choose that can change a household or society. For too long has wisdom and knowledge been kept separate. In both the public and private sector, there is this rich database of knowledge, but we need it to be shared with youth society on a familiar and comfortable platform. Now, when you're teaching your child how to ride a bike for the first time, you don't teach them the mechanics of how the wheels work or why they work, but you teach them how to maneuver the pedals. This will allow the child to be able to go confidently and buy you that milk that you don't want to buy early in the morning every single day. As young people, we know quite a lot. We are at the age of the information burst. Hashtags. We trend on Twitter. We create viral trends that changed and shaped the world. But how many of us are in this space? How much of this information that is all around us is relevant to us as drivers of our own development? As young people, we need to be curious and we need to ask these questions. Now, the first step is to stop looking at youth with this next blanket statement: the problem. But we need to identify young people for who they are. These are different people at different levels, with different problems that they face from their different households, different shapes and sizes. I'm not talking about gummy bears here, people. Now, imagine a periodic table. What you see before you is a variety of elements, all of which can either shape your reaction to be beneficial or to be destructive. If we are to change our society, we need to rethink the labels that we give to young people. We need to stop blanketing everyone with the same statement: the problem. I'm a 27-year-old looking for opportunities of growth at my work because I'm at a dead-end job that I didn't want. I'm a student fighting for access to better quality education. I'm also a 5-year-old who just wishes nap time was a bit longer. The underlying issue in all our problems is that youth are looked at with the same statement. Hinderers of your own development. Young people talk too much. You're too radical, young people. What happens if we involve them? Now, if you know anything about science, you'd know how important labeling is. I discovered this the hard way. One day I was in the lab, and by accident, because I'd labeled everything wrong, I took acetone and sulfuric acid. And the next thing that happened could have changed the whole world. I nearly burnt down my lab. This is what's happening to our nation currently. We have young people crying out to be involved, crying out to be heard. What do we do? The first step is for you to simplify the context and the component of involvement. Simplification. What is policy anyway? What are these frameworks? How can you involve someone who doesn't know your rules of engagement? Young people also need to be active. In order for young people to be given the chance, because the table is ready, they need to stand up. And they need to make it clear that the time is now and they want the space to be given. So the question remains, how can government, corporations, and youth collaborate on a singular platform to affect the change that we want in our communities? Now, societal cooperation requires both an emotional and existential buy-in to a knowledge basis. Perhaps the most effective arena to engage people in would be through entrepreneurship. Let's look in our communities. What do we have? We're sitting with young people with degrees. Young people with basic skills that can be monetized. Young people who are great thinkers, but they're not given the chance to open their mouths. Where's the platform to share their ideas? How do I use this piece of paper that I have to only help my family to live? Maybe if we develop better tools for education, we can change and shape our society. Is the uniform approach to education working out? After all, can a bear swim? Does a fish fly? What's not working? At all levels, we need the key decision makers to be the custodians of the Sustainable Development Goals. But we need, as young people, to not be afraid to engage, gain the knowledge, learn. Shut up for a moment. Because if we are to realize Goal 17, which is creating partnerships for the SDGs and for changing our world, we will realize the communities that we want to live in. Now, in every chemical reaction, for chemical change to happen, there needs to be chemical bonding. This is in communication and collaboration. For the reaction to happen faster, both surfaces of the elements need to be as exposed and as broken down as much as possible. This is in simplification, access, and transparency. And the chemical reaction will only happen once it fully passes equilibrium. This is opportunity creation, the sharing of power, and accountability. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the chemistry of meaningful youth engagement. Thank you.